Social media and mainstream media has been awash in Africa, especially in Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, and other nations, with nudes, sexual videos making the rounds, and many persons are asking what went wrong and for what reasons. There is a viral video making rounds on social and mainstream media of an individual who lives in Equatorial Guinea with more than 400 different women caught in the videos, and many persons have been asking questions. We're going to be looking at this situation, asking ourselves how married men and women can learn from what is happening from this scandal. Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to Prime Eye on My Media Prime TV. We're going to be looking at this scandal that has become the talk of most African homes for over a week now. With our panelists who are with me in the studio, we have Mr. Emmanuel Chango, who has become a regular Tuesday edition panelist for Prime Eye. Good evening, Mr. Emmanuel. We are glad to have you. Good
evening, Mr. Leonard and Madame Bouquet. Really, really nice to see you. And televiewers, always my pleasure. Quite an acid test this time with the topic. We hope our views will be able to bring, a bit more sanity and objectivity in the way we appreciate these happenings.
Also with us in the studio to comment on this trending sex video scandal, we have Madame Nchumbonga. We're glad to have you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Leo, and televiewers. It's a pleasure. I'm kind of overwhelmed. Initially, I thought this was just a makeup, but apparently it's true because I had to take time to do some research on the issue, and it's something we really need to talk about. So I'm glad to be here with you, Mr. Leo, to see if our views may count.
Okay. Also from Bamenda, we're going to be having contributions from Mr. Sanji Yvette, who is already on standby, ready to fire. Our contributions to this, we start with you, Mr. Emmanuel Chango.
Yeah.
That a man who is married, has 6 kids, takes out time to film himself having sex, mostly in his office and bathrooms, toilets, with ladies, and is keeping these videos. Do we consider such a man normal?
Yeah, very good question. Just like last week we were discussing the issue of marriage and the challenges that come with them, and we were able to discover that the word marriage itself and the rituals may at times have nothing to do with the actors and why they get into it and where they hope to go with it. Sometimes it's just meeting with the trends or using it as a cover-up for many other things. Yes, there are possibilities that from the psychiatric point of view he would not be normal. There are also possibilities that he is meeting some other objective, but somewhere along the line we can consider that an irresponsible sexual behavior, because the nature of which unions have to be created and the objectives for which they are created in terms of building a healthy society, this can be considered a deviant behavior. In that context, we now have to start analyzing how come this is happening, how come he got there, why him, and who are the people closest to him, like the wife. Are they surprised? Are the parents surprised? Is the community surprised? Is it actually this video that makes it news, or because we are close to this information at a relatively different distances, and I am sure that when you see the dimension of the operation, you talk of 400 women, and the explicitness of the videos and the almost very professional conditions under which they are shot, shows that there is a good level of premeditation, planning, organizing, setup. It's just like we running in this studio. We have we may say there was no producer, but I think that there was a premeditation, there was a conception, there was settings to give a certain level of satisfaction based on the drive that is in this main actor, who is the gentleman. Now there are many other factors we have to analyze surrounding, but when I look at this person, if you just look at him, you will find a facial feature that is in serious contrast with his physical build. You know, he has a well-built masculine body, very attractive body. Of course, that is very appealing to women in terms of what I want a man to be. Women would like a man to have a commanding posture, status. That's the general psychological view. And he carries himself bold and tall. But when you look his face, his baby and appealing face. So you realize that from my reading, there would be certainly that aspect which is like a play that helps him as a predator to be able to seduce and actually get his victims into place. And I also went on to analyze some other things, is that you look at a very complaining face, looks very innocent. So this is a very charming trap for empathic souls, because the empathic souls, and you find them mostly in the women, like say, are you okay? You know, when you have said nothing, just from your look at it, what can I do for you? You see that calling. So, and the next thing you see that most of the victims are very motherly ladies. They are very matured and motherly. Look very carefully. You will expect an addicted, a sex addict just going after, every type of pain, maybe the models, structures, the build. But if you look carefully, there is a very clear definition in his choices. Few cases went out. I had to go through. I had to do some studies. I had to do some analysis. I had to go through, And I said, this is very, very serious, and let me look deeper. And looking through, trying to read the mind, you see they're very motherly figures. You realize that very composed, dressed modally. They are not like skinny dress, like street girls or easygoing girls. You see very motherly, very matured and good personality people. In normal society, you will come very far from thinking anything of this sort in the back of their minds. And you realize that this consistency plays back deep into the psychology of this gentleman, which is one of the areas where I decided to deepen my analysis and my observation. I believe that there is something fundamentally, deeply out of place around the evolutionary life cycle of this gentleman.
Yes, Madam Telen, you have, I don't know, have you seen some of the videos? What would cause a married man to engage in a series of, because when we talk of 400 videos, it's just 400. Maybe there are more, and he may have also engaged in so many unrecorded exercises, sexual exercises. What would cause a man who is married, not to an ugly lady, very beautiful wife, and has 6 kids?
What will cause him to go out? That's the question all the time. The first thing,
going out is one thing, but going out to this extent,
well, in whatever extent, what will cause a married man to go out? This is what I often tell people. I said it's irresponsible people who take an action or make a decision and put the cause or the blame on someone else. You should be able to think through, make a decision, and take responsibility. So whether a married man or not a married man, for me, I see a problem with, like Mr. Chiangong said, the whole setup. I tried to do a research on it. When I was informed I had to be a part of this program, I said, but look, I just saw something, I didn't pay attention. Could this really be true? And in one of the blogs I saw, they were indeed saying there are more than 400 videos, and it's over 1,000, and he was trading it for something or what. Everybody has what they are saying, but for me, like Mr. Chiangong said, there is a fundamental problem to deal with that doesn't come from his home, from his being married. The family, the mother, the immediate family, those who grew up with him, those who were there when he was growing up, there was something they missed out. And I say that from experience working with kids from over 20 years. There are some little things that will happen around a child, and that will be ignored. But that seed produces itself later, bitter fruits or sweet fruits. Some will go back to society as vengeance on what they suffered as a child. Others will go not as vengeance, but because they thought it was a good thing, they go out to do the same thing. The first thing I thought of is, if this guy is going only after married women, then I want to check the nanny who was there. I say that based on a story. I remember there is a particular guy who just said this as some sort of fun when we asked him why he's fond of very fat women. In a joke, in his land, he said, well, because maybe the first woman I knew was so fat. And how could you know a first woman who was so fat? He said, my nanny. From when she was bathing me, she used to touch me, and by the time I got to about 10, she started sleeping with me. So for me, an ideal woman is a fat woman. So that kind of thing, the parents are not aware. We know it in the context of friends, just talking. Now, I don't know to what extent that habit or that behavior has gone. So when I look at this young gentleman, like Mr. Chango said, his face is so innocent. And I just remembered my teacher saying, all that glitters is not gold. I think of his wife and his children. Oh, for heaven's sake, how do those kids go to school the next day? So there is nothing we can say from home, whether married or unmarried. There is a fundamental issue that we need to look at. It has nothing to do with his home, not with his wife. Otherwise, he should have been looking for young girls, or just fair women, or just dark women, but it's just a mixture of everything. So Mr. Leo, for me, we have to dig deeper into this matter than just looking at what will cause a married man. Okay, sometimes they'll say, oh, if you marry women, don't cook well, you don't take care of the wife, the husband, you don't let him touch you, he's going to go out. 400 women? I can't be 400 women, for heaven's sake. No woman is going to be 400 women.
These are women who were recorded.
Yes.
Because it's in the past, yeah. It's not happening now. Now, they were recorded, and we are also having information that he would go to Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
And also does same, maybe in Cameroon. He has also done. Was he obsessed? Yes. Or maybe was he under an spiritual influence to some extent?
Well, I don't master spiritual activities. I think there is a compulsive, obsessive behavior pattern here. We can see narcissistic tendencies and sadism as well associated with them. But what we are trying to say is that when it starts acting like a mental disorder, or when we see the pattern of mental disorders, numbers don't give satisfaction, because the numbers is just like an addiction for anything. You know, the system gets less satisfied as you get more used to consumption, because so you need to push the exercise a bit higher to feel the same pleasure that lesser could give you. So if a bottle of beer gave you pleasure, when you are getting addicted, you need to take 2. And when you find satisfaction with 2, an addiction has to push you to 3. So each time there is that drive. But there is also the fact that there is in the psychology of such a person, you will find that with serial killers and things like that.
That's it.
In the psychology of such a person, there is the frustration, because I think that there is a vacuum that this gentleman is trying to fill with an understanding that is approximate to the diagnosis that he has made. You know, probably damages that occur in the mental functioning of our very low age years, baby and young adolescent ages. We don't register them with the intelligence that we are trying to resolve them when we become adults.
Yes.
So you come up with an understanding of a frustration to which you cannot give a name, neither a tag. And because you are not discussing the issue with anybody, so you are not receiving any help from a specialist.
That's it.
And because the issue touches aspects of your life that sound like taboos and which you will not say openly, it may have been an abuse on him, maybe young, maybe from parents, or parents' abuse of others, or an abuse of the person, but his psychology had participated in some sort of action that created a mindset that grew up, and it is interpreted as, okay, this action will bring me satisfaction. And there is a very serious frustration, because how much effort and energy you put in the exercise, you don't get the answer, because that's actually not the solution. It is a displaced view of the fact. It is what we call a maladaptive behavior. So it will not bring the solution. So you do it more and more, beginning to say, okay, this time I think I've hit my target, because actually you like I said, they are premeditated actions. He has to profile his victim. He has to look at the status, maybe the age, the position, to make it a little bit more challenging, more risky. And he moves it, and after he just feels like, I don't find any difference. And so the next things fit the target higher and go. And this, like I said, this is a dangerous behavior, even to the person. And he's blinded by this drive for the accomplishment. You see, in the narcissistic behavior, there is this need for accomplishment, and not just personal accomplishment, but accomplishment coming from the people involved, considering them. And in the sadistic, there is the pleasure of humiliation somewhere, knowing that I'm bringing some greatness downwards under my control, and there is some grandiosity, coming in the process of joy. So if you look at it, we are dealing with a serious mental issue here. And it could move from this to another, because if after 1,000 you're not getting satisfaction, you don't know what the brain may just ask you to move next to. Maybe it may not just end at having sex. It may move on to another level of pleasure, which may be even more destructive.
Okay, if you are watching the program, we are discussing about a video or a story, a scandal that has washed social and mainstream media, circulating videos of an Equatorial Guinean man and several ladies, counting over 400. These videos are trending out there, and one is wondering what would cause a married man to wanting to have sex with over 1,000 women on record. And this is what we are discussing today. And what we want to look at is what married men and married women, what they can take from this, because we may be talking about the men, that he did that with the women. Most of them are married,
and even a pregnant
we
one.
have followed an audio where he explains that none of these women were forced into the action. And if you watch the videos, you see that these women were aware that
he was recording.
But does it also paint a picture of what our society today looks like?
Of course, that's the picture of the society. Moral decadence. Everything is futile. Everything is decaying. There is no value for dignity anymore. Integrity is zero, to the point where that people are ready to trade their integrity and the integrity of their entire community or environment for a 2 or 3 minutes pleasure. I was just thinking about it, particularly the video of the pregnant woman that I saw. What was she thinking about her unborn baby? What was she communicating? Because with all the technology and all the knowledge around, we are now very much aware that the baby is communicating with the world every other second of the day. So when she, a mother, carries this pregnancy to this man in the office, what is she communicating? What is she expecting from this child when the child is born? What will she do? How will she react? These are all the questions that were going through my mind. So Mr. Leo, it's really a reflection of the present state of the human human behavior, human reasoning, and like Mr. Chiangong said, is the quest for the extraordinary. We just want to do it a different way, so we are not primitive, so we are not villageois, as we will say in Cameroon, so we are not left out of what is en vogue, as we will say in Cameroon here. I just think that there's so much that we can all learn, first as individuals, then as married people, then as teachers, then as professionals, then as workers. The entire community needs to learn something from that.
Yes. When a married man, like the case we're talking about, his name is Balthazar, that's what the name we know. I've seen 2 videos where he has sex with pregnant women.
Yeah.
Now, when a married man is having sex with another married woman, what does it tell to possibly the husband of the pregnant woman? Can you really be sure that the child is not that of the Balthazar guy?
Well, like we said, if we were talking about an issue of 1, 2, 3, I would tell you that it happens very often, and for many reasons. Some people may be married and they get into some other relationship. It is always been in the society since man exists. And when you ask why we went into marriage, this is what we were asking last
week,
and what is it the marriage actually means to us, and what happened during and the marriage, before, during, and what happened after. You go into a variety, you will not be able to classify. There are so many cases, so we will not have one position on it. It is first that humans are humans. They can't keep engagements. They say the man of the world will let you down. So humans are weak, and they must be an awareness, that is a lifestyle awareness, that keeps us maybe just a millimeter from falling. There is no way you can boast about your ability to be above all the challenges in the world. All you need to do is look up to grace and get a very high level of awareness to be able to be maybe 1 millimeter ahead of it until someday you graduate, saying, my case could have been worse. I'm happy just this way. But we are dealing with a typical case of a person with a lifestyle, and I would assure you, if those 400 women were to be told that this is what was happening, I believe that every one woman felt very special in that company.
That's it.
And felt, this is my dream relationship, and this is beautiful. For me, I know maybe I'm married, but I share something very special. I mean, I told you, when you read this guy's future, you will realize that he is somebody who looks very inoffensive, very fragile at the limit, with a very good, formidable physical build. Then everybody comes in like to murder him, to be the mother he did not have, because his face cries and yearns for concern, very babyish and demanding. And so that attitude has not come by chance. It's something that has been built as a tool to meet the plan that has been put in place. The other thing I want to say is that there is a power ratio which is very, very imbalanced here. We are dealing with a very prominent figure of a society, very handsome looking man, somebody with political and financial strength, and he is in a situation that is easily looked up to by everybody. So his approaches already go with some announcement ahead of him. It's just like something has paved his way. And then he is in these influential societies where there is a lot of funny practices, because most of the time the quest for power is so strong that many issues are compromised along the way, and you may not be surprised how many times it could be your family that you compromise. So the actors in this setting are a particular group of people, in their search for power, in the drive to be on top, to be a prominent. There are a lot of compromise that is done around the way. So in this area, certain things look like norms. We may be shocked down here because we looked at every boundary of our little square meter, and we try to sweep it, check it every time, and watching out. But these people have so much at stake that at times you may even stake your wife or stake your family, and you may do it consciously or unconsciously because there is a higher drive. So the power ratio can be a strong point. His nature, his person, and his psyche can be another strong point. But the most vicious, because it is not visible. He knows how he can play with it. So what I can also say is that, remember, you insist on a married man, but I'm sure he has been this way before he got married.
That's right. That's what I think as well.
Okay.
If this is built from his childhood, then of course marriage was just one other,
Societal
element.
norm.
Yes, one other element for organizing the strategy, and it could be compromised whenever it is necessary, because the objective marriage couldn't have been probably his life objective or an important aspect to determine his mental balance. Other things are higher in his demand than his home and his family, and that's why I think we could find that he's very comfortable to have gone this far and not stopping at any one point.
Okay, we're going to take the first intervention from Bomenda through Miss Asanji Yvette. Yes, Asanji Yvette. Good evening. We're glad to have you on Prime Hour.
Hello, Mr. Leo. Good evening to you, and good evening to my co-panelists. Special greetings to our viewers, and I'm thinking of fervent viewers of Tuesday Prime Hour program. Okay, Mr. Leo, this is actually heartbreaking. When I came across this on social media, I felt really terrible. Yes, I felt so horrible that I could not believe someone could, not just do an act like this, but take records of them. For whatever reasons, I cannot tell. And this leakage today, or this leakage that has happened of recent, is just, I think, the very first key lesson that is going to teach everyone is that nothing is hidden under the sun. So before engaging in extramarital affairs, please be rest assured that it's going to come out one day. But I feel so horrible because this is not just going to affect this said guy and maybe the ladies, the women whom he had this affair with, but there's a lot that's involved here. We're thinking of families, those who are married. I think the married women were involved. We're thinking of how would the other spouse, the husbands of those who are married, how would they manage this kind of an information trending all over social media? You go to TikTok, it's the talk of TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, you can name them. It's all over. And I'm thinking, like, if I were in the position of maybe the husband of one of those ladies, how was I going to react to this? How will I manage this? Think about the children. Knowing that our mother was one of the ladies in the sex scandal. Think of even the family members, the siblings, the parents. I mean, these are all the people that are included in this I don't know if I should call it drama. And that's to tell you that to be honest with you, we might need to counsel a lot of people this period. A lot of people will need to undergo counseling. If not, a lot will go wrong. Because the siblings will be affected psychologically, parents are affected psychologically, children are affected, spouse, the spouse own is something different. I mean, it will come at a different level. So these are things that can happen, and then you see someone tomorrow, they begin to act like they are crazy or they are not normal, and then you begin to find out maybe this guy did something wrong, whereas it's just marital stress that has caused them, pushed them, to extremes, and then they begin to behave psychotic. It's really heartbreaking, to be honest. Like I said, I don't even know if maybe the husband of one of them, I don't even know how I'm going to manage this. So this is going to bring a lot of pains, cheating and this kind of scandals. These are things that breaks families. As far as even taking the lives of people. I think on social media, we don't know if it's true, because sometimes whatever you see on social media, you need to take it with a pinch of salt. It's already trending that one of the ladies could not bear it, and so she committed suicide. This is just the first. A lot might go wrong. Talking about 400. I don't know if it's 300 or 400. So it is going to the level where you see that lives are being lost. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of disgrace, bitterness, regrets even. Someone will start regretting, why did I even marry you? You know, the betrayal is too much. And I don't even know how people want to cheat and then don't just cheat. Accept that they should take videos. Like, for what precisely? We keep discouraging the aspect of sending nudes to people in the name of love or whatever. Should someone really, do something that is bad and still have a record of them? To do what with it? Even if you want to keep it, you keep it for how long? Okay, if you keep it somewhere, you say, okay, you can keep it very safe. No matter how safe you keep it, if something happens to you today, let's say you die today, that video will leak out eventually. It might take even decades. But one day, somehow, someone will come across it, and that will be it. So it's actually it's heartbreaking.
Breaking, Mr. Sanji, Yvette, how would you react if such a scandal were to happen with your husband? How would you handle such a situation? Yes, put yourself in the shoes of this lady who is at home. And then the way the guy was going, the children, I think whether they're 8 months differences or 1 year, they have 6 already.
Well, yeah, Mr. Leo, I laughed because the woman, I can tell you that she must have known this and she must have dealt with it.
Okay.
Before now. Because women have this tendency of perceiving issues. I often will tell men that if your wife raises a concern about something, do not argue. If you have not seen it, it's hanging somewhere in the corner. So I can vouch without meeting this woman that if people go to her, they will see her sitting relaxed, and she might just say, like, I had been saying it, I had been asking you this, I had been telling you this, I had been. So for the woman, she kinds of, I want to think that she kinds of will feel relieved from the burden she had been bearing alone. Yeah. Seeing that 1,001 persons will share her pain, will share the weight she's been living with all these years. Because this man, these videos that he packs up to 400. No, I don't want to believe that this woman has not stumbled on something before now and didn't question. So for me, I want to believe that this woman had dealt with it. Well, if it was me, I often will say this, and in our family meeting, they constantly will quote me. I say this all the time to myself. I learned it along the line. I don't take responsibility for things that I can't control. Like when there is an issue, or my mom or my dad calls me, or this one thing in the house, I just go like, you don't worry about things that you can't control. You can't control what I think, or the way I think, or what I think about you. No amount of explanation or worry will control that. So I will just limit myself to what I can control. I can't control his movements. I can't control his sex drive. I can't control the decision of the other women. So why do I have to kill myself? Okay, it's out there. I have to leave, and I'm going to leave. And that's my stand. If I were the woman, that's what I would do, and that's how I'm going to face it.
You thank God for finally exposing
and bringing many people to come share the burden with me, because it's something I want to believe she's been battling with him on that.
Mr. Emmanuel, you hold the same view?
Well, the first thing we have to understand is that marriage is not seen the way it should. Mm-hmm. It is a structure in which most of us have just walked in with a certain definition that has been imposed on us, and even the people who are supposed to enlighten us, they themselves line up with the material dimension of the world. Actually, if you are in love with somebody, it's because the person has freedom.
Yeah.
That is the greatest of love you can give the person. It's the freedom to be fully her person or his person.
Yes.
So the pain of all of this is coming from the frustration of attachment, of ownership, of control, which are the contradictions or the opposite of what true love is. Since most of the time we do not really love, it is normal that we should suffer. And that is what is happening. And because if this person was free and was not a property, was not owned, and was not as a dimension of our greatness, was not a frame of our picture or something by which we boost our ego, it will just be okay. Or you will be looking at it from another aspect, maybe of empathy, of understanding, of sympathy, of investigation. How could you have been like this? Love will ask, what is happening with you? Not what is wrong with you. What is happening to you? And in that light, we will learn. And this dimension of love, yes, it's not the most straightforward and easy. We were not taught it. We were taught the other one. My belonging or my property, an extension of my greatness, or an aspect that colors and uplifts my ego. So in that dimension, we get violent and automatically we get reactive and so on. So I think that the beginning and the time has come for us to put into question the rules and the norms that govern our world, and to look for what spirituality requires of the human race and what actually our purpose here on earth is. I think this type of things is a big call for us to review the whole notion of being alive and being on earth and having this journey.
Yeah.
If your sister were to be Balthazar's wife and called you, Mr. Emmanuel, that big bro, this is what's happening to my world, what would you tell her?
Okay, this Emmanuel sitting here will ask you to come to me, and I will ask you, where is the pain? It's in your heart, it's in your chest, in your body,
That's right.
in your mind. And as a therapist, I will address the issue where it is paining.
Yeah.
So that you should feel good. You can only discuss the issue with somebody who has found reasonable balance. It may happen in a day, it may happen in 1 week, it may happen in 1 year, it may happen in 10 years. Because when we live at 7 levels of the human body. So this information has come in through the 5 senses, which goes directly to the mind, and it's that generated emotions. And so those emotions have affected the body. The body carries this. If the body is tormented and is suffering, there's no way you can bring it to reason. There's nothing. So go heal the body. Maybe she needs a massage, I'll give her. If she needs to go out for a walk, we'll take it. If she needs to have a break, we'll look for that.
That's
and
right.
when you start discovering that the other dimensions of your body are still alive and are maybe even better than the dimension that has been attacked, it may become relativise. It's strange that, what would you say in English? This is
Relatively.
we may have a relative view or somehow. I don't think that's the right English word. Well, we may look at it take it with a pinch of salt, because at the point when the body is hurt, the mind would generate some frequencies that, if some aspects of memory comes to add to it, the next action is the body will go violent, and that is a very self-destructive attitude. I may lose my sister if I follow that.
Yeah, because sometimes the violence can just cause the body
when
to
you have
shut
the
down.
heart attacks, the high blood pressures, the cancers, and so on. So I will work to alleviate the pain where it is, and let her start looking at her full dimension of existence. And I think it will be like a mutual growth, because in the process I'll be growing as well.
That's right.
Love for your sister may want you to be blind, to go also like ownership and want you to defend a property, and you may also get into the so it's quite sensitive. But the more we talk this way, the more we start seeing it as a good option, and the more we'll get used to it.
What was brought to the public by Balthazar may just be a reflection of what so many men are doing out there.
Yeah,
because
of course.
it is true, you say this is a rare case, but if they were to seize 1,000 phones from men, one never knows what they contain. This may just be a reflection of how many men live today, though married.
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Leo. Because I often would say that every human being is always a real self, or their real self when left alone. So when you feel like there's no one else watching you, that's when you're your real self. And most of the times, I remember my literature teacher saying, the late Batebison, he was one of my literature teachers, he was teaching us the poem Ecstasy, and somehow Batebison always had this way of just moving out of the context to just teach us some things. He says, when you pass somewhere and people are speaking in a low tune, you know, he used to startle a bit. He said that means they're talking something that is not right. He said love is always spoken in a soft voice. So it is in that soft voice, Mr. Leo, that I think that people want to keep a soft image, a soft memory, something they can just, in times of pain, flashback. And at that time, you just lose consciousness of every other reality. And it's only after a situation like this that I'm sure it's really dawning on them what was happening, especially for the women. Because, okay, you found yourself, he's telling you are the Queen of Wales, you're the princess of whatever, and you believe it, and in that ecstasy, you're just taken over, and you don't think of what will happen. So most men just do that. They don't think of, what if my son just picks up my phone? I have had scenarios working as a teacher whereby children do say they have picked their father's phone or their mother's phone to do a research, and they found something they were not comfortable with. So I want to know, should I tell my mother or shouldn't I? You know, growing up with that, one may not know, but it's all of this. Like I think it's Oscar Wilde who says in the importance of being earnest that the very essence of romance is uncertainty. This aspect that is hidden always seems to be appealing and thrilling. So that's just a reflection of society. I believe many men's phone, many women's phone, many pastors' phone, many presidents, and many of us, we do have such in our phones.
We do have such in our phones. Yeah, I was asking how the wife should react, but you know, this also contains these videos also have the faces of so many recognizable married ladies in
the society.
Yeah. How would you also react if you were to see your wife amongst the 400 or 500 ladies used by Balthazar?
Did you say used?
What would she be doing?
You know, this is the language that animates the whole exercise.
Yeah, but what would he be doing?
Well, I
because you said earlier on that this lady had the feeling that she was unique to him.
I said
that is why she will freely.
Yeah.
Because all of them, if you watch the videos, they were enjoying it, and they knew that it was recorded. Now, if I know, I'm consenting to your request for a love making exercise, knowing that I'm unique, not knowing that you have A, B, C, D, E.
Exactly.
You're using them.
Yes, of course. Well, I will not use that word anyway.
Okay.
I will not use that word, but I know it is commonly used, and it actually highlights the pain aspect of the whole exercise.
Yeah.
And so for that purpose, let's accept it, because probably somebody is in pain.
I don't know.
What else can we say, Mr. Chango, if that's not being used?
Well, what I'm trying to say is that each individual is responsible for their actions.
Very good.
And has to be able, if you are balanced, you have to be able to be comfortable with your actions. It's not the fact that it is known or it is not known.
That's it.
You know, most of the time, I mean, it doesn't make any sense for you doing something. The fact that it is not known, you feel it is a problem.
Yeah.
You feel it won't be a problem when it is known. You must be comfortable with it when it is known to you, because it is already known everywhere.
Yeah.
It is not because it is not a scandal, it is not a dimension. There are many animations in this exercise that has nothing to do with this gentleman or the women.
Yeah.
There are other dimensions. You know, when you bring light to light your yard. Neighbors have light. And if your light is very bright, people will not put security light in their compound. There are other dimensions that are animating around this area to animate their own interests. Take for instance, this guy was a tapper down there in Bafut, going to tap his wine and come back. Who will care about 400 women?
That's it.
So there are other dimensions animating around this thing that has nothing to do with the act. At the time that this exercise is taking place, we have looked at different perspectives of how we come to a situation like that. We have looked at that. It could actually be a mental issue. It can be a health problem. It could also be, I don't know, many other things that we don't have the dimension of. Because like I said, at this level of power, there are so many articulations and understandings that may be very casual and relaxed, while here, so as long as it doesn't make sensation. And sometimes, you know, of the Toscan issue, what went around it. So we can intentionally create these situations because we are acting with an objective to look for something else and to able to take the animation. We may be responding to a bigger interest. We may be painting this picture to respond to a bigger interest. So what I'm trying to say is that, you know, everything depends on the relationship you have with the people you call yours. And this comes from the intention by which you create those relationships. And like I said, your definition of love will determine how you will act in this situation. It may even be a test of your definition of love. And in that situation, most of us, we have not looked for the right, or we have refused to look, or we don't want to look for the right definition of love. If a human being is born free, created by an almighty God, how dare can any human try to own and possess? But if you look at the whole scenario of the planet called Earth, everything is about controlling, masterminding, constraining, limiting, and canalizing. Everywhere there is a sign of freedom, all types of systems come into place, because the whole machine of the working of the world, that favors the strongest, is to have control. And that is why I am saying social media has been brought, and everybody knew. Warnings were raised, alarms were raised, just like AI is coming up now. Even those who have been involved in the project, some are resigning, they are raising alarms. But it is animating, rather. These very people who are now like saturated with social media, they feel like the adrenaline is dropping with social media. Let's go further. And AI is gaining grounds. So who are these people? How do they gain from this and so on? And how many people are innocent? When you talk of parents having their phone around and kids speaking, listen, having a phone is a technology that came without training. Nobody went for training. And people learn in the process, and there are prices to pay. You cannot be carrying adult material in a phone and you make it accessible to kids. You don't take your money and put on your veranda and go to work and expect to come and find it. So we have learned the knowledge about money. We put it under lock and key. We go to the bank. So now there's less trouble. Even there, somebody breaks down, and then other things are coming. But what we are trying to say is that information can be wealth. Image can be wealth, stronger than currency. So when you have love, or a cherishable relationship, can be wealth above currency. So when you hold strongly to something, give it the value it deserves in terms of how you manage it. And so most of these things have come. We are lucky and happy to use the animating, like 5% of it that animates us, excites us. And the bottom, like the bottom of the iceberg, which is the understanding of this technology and its capability to heal and to kill, we don't go into the depth of it. Few people read any warnings in any document, even in bank loans. They sign the page, they don't read those little writings, and they are written always in very little character.
So that you get
overwhelmed. Few people read anything on the back of the document, they write the publicity that attracts, and when there is trouble, then you are drawn your attention to the little writings. And that is the way human nature is degrading, because we are losing ability to go to details. So like I said, it will all depend on how you build your relationship.
Now, if your wife counted amongst these several women, what would you do, Mr. Emmanuel?
Well, as a matter of fact, I don't think that I have a wife now, so I don't think I have this problem.
No, really? A counselor, what would you tell?
You want me to speak for somebody else?
Yes.
You asked
We
me,
I said we are here to educate.
Exactly. If
there are men
Yes.
whose wives here. Actually,
I said they should review their definition of love. Review why you got into this relationship. And did the wife agree on your terms of that relationship? Then on the basis of those terms, you can pass the judgment, because
you see,
both parties were aware.
Have you seen those videos?
Of course.
Those ladies were enjoying it.
Of course. And that is why some of them will tell their husband that, didn't you think I deserve this type of joy? Depending on what their understanding was. The point is that we should not have this an ideal definition of marriage and how a home should be. You understand what I mean? There is that ideal definition of marriage and how a home should be. And that definition, many people have adapted and expanded and developed it in line with what suits them at the time they are getting involved. Sometimes they don't look at the long run of how it may go out of their play. On the basis of that, you can come back to the drawing board with whoever you have this challenge with and say, on the basis of what we agreed and how we are going, I think there is a problem here. But like I said,
what is the base that you would agree with your wife that would suggest that your wife should go catch fun with some other person?
Okay, let me tell you. The Christian teaching, we can see it from the judgment that Jesus passed on the lady who was caught in adultery. He said, whoever has not sinned, let him throw the first stone. And if we are using Jesus as an ideal in our spiritual growth, he didn't say don't do it or do it. He put the question to those accusing, whoever has not sinned, throw the first stone.
Are you now coming back to what I said, that is what this guy is doing, just reflective of how so many men are living? Because nobody will judge Balthazar or the ladies, because obviously everybody is doing.
Let me come. And when he got up, he raised his head and saw that there was nobody standing with a stone. He said, if they have not condemned you, neither I will not condemn you. But go and don't sin again. Okay. There is a teaching about what is right and what is wrong for the people who believe in this discipline, in this doctrine. If you and your wife went into an understanding on the basis of that, yes, you can condemn because there is something that deviated from that understanding, but you also can forgive because it is part of the teachings. So how you would react will be based on your level of growth as an individual in the journey on earth here.
Mr. Emmanuel and Madam Helen, it is true that for both the man and the woman,
yes,
in the case of cheating, could be easy. But this is something that has gone so viral.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, yes.
That touches on the personality. Imagine a high profile, a minister in Equatorial Guinea, whose wife was pictured having sex. It is across the African continent. Is it going to be so easy to swallow that? The way you're saying, because if you were to be told that, okay, your wife has cheated, it's different. But this is a cheating acknowledged by the entire continent.
Yeah, so Mr. Lee, what I was going to say is that to forgive someone doesn't, I always say, oh, if you check, I think that's one of the things I often say, forgiveness is a must, it's an obligation. If we must live happy, because we also fall short of expectation. But now reconciliation is a recommendation, it's not a must. I think that is where we often miss it out when we talk about this issue, especially in cheating. And you just touched what was my concern. I said most of these men, looking at their ages, looking at the family, looking at how much they have invested in, if it was just a one-on-one catching, they could let go. But now it has to do with an entire nation, a whole set of people, an identity. So he may forgive, but he's thinking of the implication on his driver, on his guard, Can he talk to his God anymore? Does he have authority? So he questions many things about himself. That's the way. I'm not a man, but from my little experience talking with people, I think that is where men have an issue, because the man feels like reduced totally if his wife is caught with another man. The first thing is, what did I not do? What did I give? What did I? Whereas on the part of women, it is often seen like a general weakness for men. So I think that is where the men will have an issue. Not an issue of forgiveness. The men want to forgive, but living on with the situation is...
Yeah, but the implication here is we are not talking about a cheating case where people may just narrate in the quarters that this man, a woman, cheat or this and that. We are talking about a situation where these videos
are viewed
on social media and are going to last forever, which means that, like you said, any day your driver wants to see your wife naked, he goes and plays those videos. Any other person.
Okay.
And the issue of privacy.
Yeah,
because your wife belongs to you. Your wife no longer has that privacy, because we are talking social media, it stays forever. At any time people want to see your wife's nakedness, they go and play this video.
Your wife belongs to you not because you own her, but because she has given herself to you.
Yeah.
If she changes her mind, she doesn't belong any longer to you. And you must respect the fact that she is... No, you must respect the fact that she is independent. She is a unique human being. You know, if we were talking about the reverse, the discussion will not have this intensity.
Yes.
If it was a woman who had serial videos of men, this language will not stand this tall. And the fact that a man does this, and the men are the most frustrated. You know, because of the ego of a man to man. But like I say, when you win a 100 meters race in 5 minutes and you are claimed, the next desire is to win a 100 meters race in 4 minutes. These are challenges to the human race. If we are forgiven when we heard in a gossip, let us learn how to forgive also when it is on video. Because whatever the case, there are people who have met their partner in an act, and they have looked for what brought this relationship together. It is still bigger than this situation. And they said, sense makes me to hold to the bigger picture. And everything is going around. Now we have a new tool that works in a different way. You know, it's just like the children we raise. They grew up in our generation. We grew up, we don't look at fathers in the eyes and so on. Today, there are countries where children pick the phone and call the government against their parents. And they come and, you know, pick their parents and take them out to judge them, and the child is sitting there and feeling very important because a non-parent taught them. So we are living in an environment, as the technology, the lifestyle, mentality are changing, we have to adjust. And when we are adjusting, we should also be questioning, is it right or wrong? If it is not right, let us have the courage to start saying no loud to certain things, not just absorbing everything. There are countries where phones, social medias are censored. Popular communication on those countries call them very negative and very, very, very derogatory names to make us feel that those who don't buy that concept are the ideal measure. But I think time is proving to us that some people's games, they are running out of steam. And so we may now begin to look at what is the proper order to raise the human race if we don't want to be extinguished by our own very initiatives and the things that we take. And that is why I will not discuss this issue as it's happening. I don't want to be carried by the social media and the animation around it. Everybody has the right to say, I don't give a damn about this issue. I could as well say that I am not discussing this issue because I believe that I'm part of the animation. But I said I'm coming to discuss the issue, but I'm going to take you televiewers into another dimension of the human existence where these things play no role.
Okay, they play no role. I don't know whether they actually do not play any role, because all this, I don't know how the children will have to live with this situation.
Please tell you, that was my
thoughts. We
thoughts.
are talking about the ladies. Okay, we are forgiving the ladies, forgiving the man.
Yeah.
But these children have to grow knowing that the entire continent saw the nakedness of their mothers were not faithful. It also has that implication. It also has a bearing on the reputation of families.
Yeah.
It has a bearing on reputation of some institutions. Who knows whether one of these ladies was heading one big corporation that has signed financial engagements with some, which may be withdrawn, and it may also lead to bankruptcy and financial issues for. So there are lots and lots of ramifications on what we are talking about here.
Actually, Mr. Leo, this is why I question the world order.
Okay.
Okay, if the moral status of people are this deep, determining how a parastatal will work, then do all the findings. You have the technology. Go and investigate it. Question all the issues. We take people. Okay, listen. The father of this guy is a reputable diplomat in the sub-region, and this guy is occupying a very sensitive investigative organization in his country. How did he get to that post? Because what we are trying to say is that when you promote approximations, then on the basis of approximation, you will digest the society.
That's right.
Because the output of approximation is approximation squared or cubed. So how did this guy get into this position? If we create a society where we are based on merit and values, most of these decadents will be killed in their root, in their nucleus. But they are promoted, validated, equipped, and protected.
Nourished
and protected. So that is why I said this thing becomes a scandal at the point where somebody has to benefit from it. There is no accident there. Somebody is benefiting from all of this, and this is how most of the time some investments benefit without caring who the victims are and how they are going to suffer. We can see it in many ways. This is only one picture of the way the human race survives in terms of the power, just suppresses with impunity, as I can say. It happens in many other dimensions of our society. And like I said, the power ratio, there is an imbalance. And when there is an imbalance, there's supposed to be what they call ethics. To caution the person in power, because the other person is vulnerable. But you realize that ethics doesn't exist again in anything. And there are no questions, there are no investigations, and things are always manipulated. There is an understanding to keep these things growing. So if we are truly very, very disturbed by this matter, and if it is the people on top that are more disturbed than us, like you are saying, my wife and so on, these people know what to do to bring our society back to sense.
Okay, let's get back to Bomenda, Mr. Sanji Yvette, for your second intervention.
So I was trying to talk about the aspect of low self-esteem when one spouse cheats. There are times that you are tempted, most often people are tempted to know who the spouse cheated with, and you want to check how good they are, how handsome or beautiful they are. If it's maybe a woman that cheated with another man, the man might want to check check the other person's financial status. And let's say that for example, this is someone who does not have maybe any means, or they are managing, and the wife cheats on him with someone that has a car, has a mansion. Automatically it begins to intimidate them. So most often it's not right, but it's a funny reality that people want to check to know who the spouse cheated with. And yeah, sometimes you get to discover that the person is not even looking as good as you are. And then this one that makes you to boast. But if you get to discover that the person is beautiful or handsome or has or has maybe financially stable more than you, it begins to intimidate you. This is where low self-esteem sets in. You begin to doubt your self-worth. If you are still good for them, if you are still good enough for them, if you are even still good enough for yourself, like, are you even worth living? And that's why you see low self-esteem will bring anxiety. You begin to be anxious. start having loss of appetite, sleeplessness. You're not able to sleep. You're not able to eat. I've even had people that went into depression due to spouses that cheated on them, and they were unable to bathe. For like 3 days on a row, a woman was unable to bathe because the things she saw about her husband. She was unable to bathe, she was unable to eat, she was unable to sleep. And what sets in? High blood pressure. Immediately you are unable to, eat, rest, sleep, you are anxious, all of these things. It will automatically, rise up your body activities, like the way the heart pumps blood. Now what happens? Automatically high blood pressure comes in. Sometimes your body will respond by releasing even more I don't know if I call it sugar. Let me put it in a way that others can understand. Viewers can understand, a layman can understand. So your body would respond to depression or to anxiety or to whatever it is that you're facing by doing what? Releasing excess sugar in your system so that your body will be able to cope with the stress. And this gives rise to what? You not end up with high blood pressure, you not end up with diabetes and all of that. So this is the consequences of cheating on marriage. I've always said it. Cheating on a spouse is like killing them. It's an indirect way of killing somebody. If I can take what you share with, or we share, this is something that is private. This is something that is we want to honor. If you want to take something that we honor and then expose it to others, it means I don't respect you. It means I don't care about your life, because anything can happen. I've always said this. You can never trust a side chick or a side dude. You can never. These people, they're people that with emotions, with love involved, especially from ladies, they can go extremes even before regretting. And I said it again the other day. I said, if as a man, if you really must cheat, because we're talking about this cheating like this, people will not see here. But if you really must cheat, avoid taking things from either your side chick or your side dude to your home. The world is so wicked. Don't even bring these people to your home. You're putting the lives of your children, the lives of the entire family at risk. You cannot trust you cannot trust anybody you meet out there. If someone could be positive and HIV positive and don't tell you that they're positive, and could infect you with it, what more do you think they could do more? These are people that are full of bitterness, maybe that, okay, why should they die alone of this? Or someone has emotions or love feelings for you and say, no, it's either you or nothing. A woman told me here in counseling that the side chick voluntarily, or let me say, proudly told her that you and I are going to share this man. And if you want to joke, I will take him from you. Side chick threatening the wife at home. So in fact, it brings insecurities. You don't even know who, like, once someone is cheating on you, even to sleep on the same bed with them, it's like they can get up in the night and stab you. They can begin to look at you like a hindrance, and anything can happen. So there's a lot of risk involved in this. And if families should recover from this, they need a lot of therapy to walk past anything that concerns cheating. Thank you so much, Mr. Leo.
Cheating, but not just empty cheating. We're talking about cheating caught on camera. Wow. Intentionally, the man knew, the women knew. And for a long time now, we have been talking about keeping nudes and sharing them. Is that also not a very big problem with us today? What are you recording yourself? What are you recording your sex life for?
That's the question. Why would you want to record it? Is it that you're not sure you're going to have it tomorrow, so you want to just keep a memory and go back, look at it like a trophy, like when you get a certificate for doing so well, or a trophy for winning that match? You want to keep it and watch. Why would you want to do that? I beg your pardon. Why would you want to do that? Those are the questions that we keep asking ourselves. Why people do that? But again, like we said initially, there is this deep inner quest for satisfaction that we all have. In Christendom, we would say that emptiness, that void that only salvation can fill. Some other place they will say that void, that only power, there is a void. And that is where I think, speaking from the perspective of a teacher, that we will constantly go back to the drawing boards to question what we teach at schools, because one would expect that this boy should be reasonable. He should be able to analyze facts. If you go by Bloom's taxonomy and the position he holds, one will see that, okay, he's gone through, he could remember what he was taught, he could understand, he could apply, he could analyze, and he can even evaluate, and he is creating. So if you look at all of that, so what did he really want to create out of this scenarios? Because he keeps them for remembrance. He understands that if he keeps them, it means they can be viewed. He takes time to pack them, just to keep them safe and secure. So all of this will just take us again to the emptiness of life, the emptiness of the human nature, that insatiable desire that economists try to define in saying wants are unlimited. Because why would you keep a nude picture of yourself? You see yourself. So what do you want to do with it? Is it that you want to remember, like when I was 16 and I want to keep that so that in case I grow and I'm 60, I'm going to show Amanda, hey, don't look at this old body you see now. When I walked in here, Mr. Chiango say, oh, you've looked different, because he knew me some 20 years ago. Yes, 20 years ago. Maybe that's why I'm keeping the picture. So I see Mr. Chiango, I say, hey, you see, don't look at this old woman now. This is how she used to look. What is the essence? We keep questioning, but I speak from the perspective of a teacher that it just boils down to the classroom, because I often would say that if the classrooms can be properly shaped, a lot of things can be shaped out there in the society. And we used to say if the homes can be stable, can be shaped, but now we see that people barely spend time at home because of the way life is. The father gets up in the morning, goes out, the mother runs here, and then the kids to school, and the family barely sits for 2 hours a day as a family. What am I saying, 2 hours? 1 hour is too much to find any family that can really sit like that as a family. So it comes back to the schools. What are we doing with the children of today, so that the tomorrow doesn't get to a point where people just decide to go completely stark naked on the streets? I really get concerned and worry about that, Mr. Leo.
Have you had situations where people come crying for you because somebody is wanting to use their needs to blackmail them?
Okay, I have had to have the discussion with some cases where there was
they shared their nude videos with somebody.
Yes, I've had to have a discussion, but you know, there is no advice on how to manage that. There is a process on how to manage that. You know, most of the time people say relax. It's not an order.
Yeah.
And you can give the order and I will not respect. If I would say I'll teach you how to relax, and in the process you develop a skill. You know, if anybody is going to make a scandal about one thing, he has a string of scandals he will make. You have to frustrate the process, because of course there must be no need for it. You see, if everybody was moving naked, a naked picture will have no value.
Yeah.
And if you question why people are, yeah, of course.
It's true.
Yes. And if you question why people are snapping their bodies and looking, you should ask why people go watch paintings of Picasso and Heben Yumbi and Koko Kemeni. Why do they go and watch their paintings?
That's it.
The eye is a part of the nourishment of the mind.
Yes.
And through it, it brings different types of emotions. What we should be questioning is, what is the outcome of that exercise? How does it heal the world? How does it make, because mental balance wants that your life should bring life to the community.
That's right.
When we are defining our gentleman's behavior as an inappropriate behavior, it is because in the process his own life was at stake. Is at stake.
Yeah.
He is practicing dangerous behavior, which is like some sort of homicide, not only for him but also for the people he encounters, because these are generally unsafe sex he's having, and in that serial, habit. So he's not mentally right, because at some point he has lost value in his own self and his person, and there must be a series of degradation, breakdown over time that brings a man to that level. He feeds with his mouth. He doesn't put food in his ears. He takes a bath. He knows how to knot his tie. He knows how to combine his suits. He has a haircut. He lives in a home, and surely he tells his children, "I love you. You can count on daddy. Nothing will go wrong to you." So how come at this other level? We have deep reflections to do. If we look at the scandals and so on, we will be carried by the drama, and which is very interesting for media and so on. Maybe even this topic may call more people to watch this television, but I will be more concise when they go home, saying that how can we not be affected by this type of thing? Because we actually belong at several dimensions that we can be up. This is not you, it's us. It is whole schooling. So if somebody is going to blackmail you, you can be certain that as long as he lives, you have no peace, because it is his line of nourishment. And so if you must look for a mechanism to let that subject lose value.
I've had a situation where a lady came crying to me. She was helpless for 2 days, crying because she shared her needs with a lover who later wanted to use it against her. And I told her that, what can you do crying like this? If he has to put it out there, whether you cry from today till
tomorrow, he's going to put it out
there.
there.
In fact, tell him to share the needs.
Yeah,
that is how everything. When the guy discovered that the needs had no value for you, that's how the thing died.
Yeah, that's what I meant when I say I trained myself along the line, and I always train my learners to know the things they have control of. Because the things that work us out so much bring stress and anxiety that can lead. Like I fell on this other story of this Nigerian fraudsters who got a boy, I can't remember the country, and they pretended they were ladies and got him into thinking and then he sent his nude pictures, and and they have just been picked by, they went to Nigeria, I think it's from the US or so. So I was telling these children, I tell my learners, this boy, all he had to do was to know that somebody should have told him that there are things you don't have control of. You don't want the world to know. If you die, we're still gonna know. So you're dying, you're killing yourself as he shot himself, doesn't stop us from knowing. So that's what I say to myself. And I was talking to some young people. Says that whosoever believes, so he leaves it open. So that's the kind of reaction I will have. If somebody's going to blackmail me on something, that's your choice, that's your right, that's your freedom. Like Mr. Chango keeps talking about freedom. Your freedom doesn't stop my freedom. There's only so much I can have control of, and once I know this is out of my control, I get myself ready to accept it and to move on. Nothing stops me from living this life that I have to live just once. So that's what I think about this blackmail issue.
Okay.
I just think that we really have to meditate on this aspect. If you look at most of the developments that are going around this topic, nobody took a step back to reflect, to meditate, to analyze, to investigate. But when we jump on the topic and we develop it and we share it and we comment it and it's moving fast around the world, the social media is becoming more popular and it is making, you know, rounds, because everybody on the sites where this is pushed, there are many visitors, so publicists will come there, somebody is making money out of it. But those people don't care about who may be suffering from it.
That's
and
it.
why should we offer it. So there are some lines of thoughts and mindsets that are not popular because they go against the views of those who benefit from this situation. We could rather pray for these people rather than talk about it. We could decide to seek for the counseling, like Madame Asanji was saying, who could be counseling the wife and the other people. Maybe even the government are not asking all these ladies what is their mental state. Can we bring them together? Can counselors discuss with them? You know, they may be having challenges in their homes. Nobody is developing documentaries on that, profiling them and trying to see how their husbands or their husbands, how they're feeling their children. Nobody's talking about that.
But a documentary, who would willingly want to talk about this?
This is the point. Why would people not willingly want to talk about?
No, I'm talking about the ladies. I'm talking about the victims.
Yes, of course. Victims. Why would we not want to care about their mental state, how they are feeling? Why is it not?
I'm saying that. Are you sure that these ladies would even want to?
No, it is not about want to. When I know that you are in a situation that is uncomfortable, mental health gives me the powers to take control of you. I can break into your house. If I know you have to cause suicide, the laws are there. So, but who has announced, all of you who are heavy laden, come to me and I'll give you rest? Who is making any campaign? If you are a victim of this situation and you are challenged and you're suffering, please, there's number, this, call me. I have some words to get you into that. Remember, you don't have to. Remember, this can happen. It will pass. Who is making this type of communication?
Yeah, I think I saw something like that. I think I saw something like that on one of the write-ups, or was it a video where somebody was saying that some of these women may look as if they are involved, and he was talking about abuse being at different levels. And I agree that sometimes you can get somebody to the point that you abuse them and they appear as though they are part of it, whereas they are still under abuse. I remember once when I just started teaching, that was in the year 2004. Well, I noticed the way a driver sat on the steering and there were some people behind. And to me, it was an unusual way for the driver to sit, because usually he will walk in, when he comes, he will pop up and then give a smile. So I quickly called the attention of my colleagues. I said, I don't know, I don't feel comfortable the way this driver is sitting. He just sat there normally. He was there. There were two people behind. Do you know those two people were kidnappers? They were coming to kidnap the child because they have an issue with this man. And the first thing they had to do was to catch the driver. Now, this driver didn't have any opportunity to communicate with anybody so that he could alert them. So that could be the situation of some of these women. They could be victims, but they appear they have been cajoled and won over to the point where they are demanded. Okay, I want to go back to something that happened in Cameroon. We saw a musician who cried and people laughed at him, but nobody knew what was behind until some full pictures are brought out. All of these women may appear to have been involved, but that person was saying, like you are advising Mr. Chango, that these women, at least, no matter how it goes, most of them initially might have been concerned about their reputation. If I go and tell somebody that I was harassed, will they believe me? Will they? And then they find themselves where they are today, and finally it's still out. Yeah, but so there are people who really
also says that this guy is very rich. You know that this is a very well-placed guy in Equatorial Guinea, and that he paid fabulous sums of money. There is even a video of a girl actually taking the urine in the mouth. You wouldn't tell me that.
Well, that's why I said the power ratio.
Yeah, when you see the way some of these ladies were even treated. Yeah, those are not.
I developed 3 personalities.
Okay.
I talked of sadism, narcissistic, and there is also Machiavellic.
Yeah, Machiavellic.
These personalities have this understanding in mental health are there because this is what studies have revealed. At the end of the day, science remained a very effective tool in understanding community and people. And I said, with all of this, we certainly know that we are dealing with a very unbalanced case.
Yeah.
But the fact is that social media goes on to the animations and condemnations and conclusions, and we have to investigate. We have to have all the facts. We have to have all the understanding. And of course, of the 400, you have 400 stories.
Yeah.
Each individual has their story and
yeah.
their case. We have one actor who has many lives in his existence,
Yeah.
and through which he manifests
Differently.
And we have seen in the case of relationship with women, we don't see the ones in the relationship with his wife or with his children. We don't want to see the relationship with his professional life in other aspects in which he communicates with the world. And so there are many things that when we don't have the facts, we just need to say, what can we, pull out of this process? To be able to pull the best, you have to investigate to the depth of it. It may need some time, it may need patience, but social media doesn't like patience. It doesn't like that you should be quiet. He will provoke you. If you don't turn from the right, he will come on the left and stick your eyes out, and when you stay quiet, he will say you are an enemy of progress. Because his interest is at stake, we can as well, decide not to react. We can as well decide not to watch the videos. We can as well decide that it is not important, because as a matter of fact, when we look at all what is at stake in our lives, you may calmly realize that discussing these issues should be perfectly geared at how can it improve individual lives, group, communities, and systems.
Yeah, but that's the topic, Mr. Emmanuel. The topic is what husbands and wives can learn from this. As a husband, should you engage in activities like this? As a wife, should you even cheat on your husband? And if you are cheating on your husband, should it even be on record? That's the essence of this. What lessons should married men and women get out of this? And by implication, the entire family, because whether you like it or not, the family is implicated with these persons have children, and also an eye-opener to so many persons who may also be involved in this. And like Mrs. Asanju said, that you may do it for so many years, but know that one day it's going to be exposed. Who knows? I may have so many of them in this phone, and tomorrow the phone gets stolen.
Yeah.
And then it falls into the hands of somebody who hates me. That will happen.
If you are going out with somebody and you decide to have a relationship in which you enjoy certain practices in private, also enjoy it when it becomes public.
That's right.
Own it and
it.
celebrate it, because that is who you are. That is your journey.
That's it.
When you suffer because of your action, go and look at the imbalance that is in your own system. The person that is worried when they say this person has bought a car, you don't have a car, is the person who felt that he should have a car and did not have. If you didn't feel that you should have a car, another person's car doesn't even bother you. You don't even notice it. So our insufficiencies also explain for our pain. It is good that we focus on growing and getting satisfaction with who and what we are at a point X in time. It's good to be ambitious, to look forward, but let's understand that we will never all be the same. And what I'm trying to point out here is that if you love a person so much, to open up to that person, you have said, I have given you my vulnerability. If something goes wrong, why don't you think that the person doesn't deserve it? I gave you gold, you don't know how to treat it. Why do you think that you were humiliated? That has to do with your own psychology. So we have to work with our strengths. We can understand that you can be insulted. And sometimes I can tell you, Mr. Kum, look at your big head as my own. The fact that I have told you that mine is also big, you can't tell it to me again. This education we don't share. We don't tell everybody. And it's very, very important for us to understand that as human beings, we will fail. We will make mistakes. We will fail. You guys know, everybody knows that we will come short. All the great teachings of this world, for all the great saints, remind us of that. So let us also see others in us. Let us see us in others. So that when this person has made a mistake, let us see him in us. Our judgment, our assessments will immediately change. And in that moment, we'll have a totally different way of looking at the thing. I said, most of the time, I would have expected somebody to call this guy, you must be seriously having a case, let's talk quietly about it. Something
Men
wrong
of
is
God, men
happening.
of God to gather for prayers.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the perspective.
No, that is one of the perspectives.
One of, yeah.
Based on your competence,
yeah,
whichever competence you have, use it in an empathic, non-judgmental, and congruent way in assessing the issue.
As they should pray they should use Balthazar as a point of contact to other
men who may be under the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's obvious that he is not functioning normally. There should be a very big gap somewhere. There should be something. And if it's a nature, as they say, well, when we read about narcissists, they say they never regret their actions. They never, because when I listened to the way the man talked, he was so proud. He said, nobody can lock him up because these women are
you know, adultery is not a crime
in his nation, so he cannot be locked up. I listened to that and I was like, now we are dealing with a very complex case because he is not even aware that he has wronged somebody. So you can't even expect him to be sorry for it.
He even threatens to sue if any of the ladies were to be found having a disease.
Yes, he said, because he said, yeah, he is not sick. He's sure of himself. So if any of them dare to give him to, in fact, if you're sick, then he's going to sue you for attempting to get him sick. I mean, it's so we're dealing with some unusual situation.
Well, you see, we are dealing now with a nation where there are laws.
Yes.
So now, if we go into this case, we should first of all know who is complaining.
That's right.
And then we should be looking at what are the laws that are backing that person's complaint, then we can go in. We are now looking at it from the perspective of our country, maybe our family, our religious basis, our psychology, and so on, and we are making analysis. Like, that's why I said, at some point, you may down somebody's downs, more, you can cry somebody's dying, more than the person himself.
But Equatorial Guinean Vice President, the day before yesterday, has issued a statement warning anybody who henceforth is going to be called making love. They are banned.
In the offices or workplace.
Yes, they have banned it.
Laws can be made based on happenings. These things are adjusted.
Yes. And they have said that they are going to ensure that mechanisms are put in place to monitor and ensure that nobody does that again in their offices. But let's take the last intervention from Ms. Asanjive.
When you want to look at the consequences of things like this on marriage, you start asking questions like, can trust ever be built, rebuilt in such a marriage? If at all one of the spouses or the spouses to the said ladies, let's say you've cheated, it's really it's really challenging to know that women have not just gotten into cheating, but they are championing it. At first, we knew that cheating was a gender issue. It was a man. Men were the ones cheating because men want variety. You have all those excuses. So today, what are the excuses of women? Because they want jobs. They want extra satisfaction. They want money. What can really be happening? And when things like this happen, trust is not just destroyed, it's damaged. And it's damaged to a certain extent where you can begin to ask if at all one spouse or one of the spouses could still have the courage enough to forgive. Yes, they can forgive you, even if they choose to continue the marriage with you. How would they manage even, the approach from the public? People will talk about it. And social media is somewhere that if they want to talk about something, they can talk about it and talk about it. Even though it might eventually die down, but it takes a while. And then after a year, they bring memories again of what happened. So it's possible that something like this can trend even for the next, 20 or more years. Every year you have reminder of what you posted the same date a year ago. So managing things like this is, even if you choose to move past it, social media will come to remind you of what you did or what you did not do. And let's talk about issues, because sometimes we're talking about things like this. There are people that still have sex videos. They have not been released yet, and they're still keeping them. And there are people that, as we're talking like this, they will still go to engage in sexual acts like this and still record. Some people, even if you have to blow trumpet in their ears, they will not see here. So, people with the level of the damaged trust, if someone has to live with a spouse that has done this, it takes the grace of God. It takes someone who fears God to actually know how to forgive things like this. It takes a lot of courage to even face it. That means that there is a lot that is involved here. The trust is damaged, I can say maybe beyond repairs. It might take forever to rebuild this kind of a trust. It might take forever to rebuild trust once one spouse cheats. I always say that a marriage where someone cheated is like, you know, when a car gets bad and another car comes to help pull it. So it's like they're pulling that marriage. Where the other car stops, you know, eventually this one stops. So it is it's difficult for a marriage to go back to normal after one spouse or both spouses have cheated. I had a client here just some few weeks ago, and this guy has been cheating to the level where this lady, he's the first guy this lady knew, but this guy cheated so much that it pushed this lady to choose to also start cheating. And at the end of the day, they came for counseling. I said, okay, now both of you have cheated. How beneficial is it? How is it helping the two of you? And now yes, we can help. We can, of course, work on it and put this marriage together. But trust will always be an issue. Once one spouse has cheated or both spouses have cheated, trust remains an issue. Throughout, the least thing, especially the least thing that reminds them of what had happened in the past, immediately you start seeing, you know, someone having doubts and all of that. So it's not easy. And apart from that, you see that these things like this lower someone's self-esteem. People lose self-esteem so much so that you see that sometimes they're unable to go about their normal activities. Mr. Leo, I'll give more details, I think, in my last intervention.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sanji Yvette, and very shortly we are coming back to you for your last intervention. But Mr. Emmanuel Chango, you want to direct our attention to something else. We should look at this case. You want the world, the Africans, Cameroonians, and Equatorial Guineans to look at ways of rather showing sympathy and praying for these guys to come out of the difficult situation in which they find themselves today.
That is if somebody is complaining, because we are talking about a scandal. There is no case that has been raised yet. We don't know of any court judgment. There are still investigations.
No, they have had ministerial meetings in Equatorial Guinea. This guy is locked up, eh?
I think it was for an investigation.
And that is the investigation that brought this.
Exactly. Yes. So this case we are discovering, I think it is still gathering its steam, and we'll have to assess the fallout. But like I said, there are other fundamental issues even before we actually realize that there can be a problem between two humans. It is because they are two people unknown to each other, you know, two people who don't know each other, separate spirits that come together, then 3, 4, family, community, country, and then the world. The first thing we should always know is that whenever you are hurt by something, always look inside you what is lacking. Yes, what is it that is lacking inside you? Whenever there is a pain, look for what is not sufficient inside you. And always know that once there is an imbalance in you, it makes you vulnerable to one action or another. So that pain is an opportunity for you to first go heal that imbalance in you and grow. But most of them, we will focus on where what we consider the pain has come from, and we don't heal from the insufficiency there. And even after whatever we would have done out there, we still remain vulnerable for the next pain to come. So to me, all of us should always remember that a painful experience is an opportunity to grow and to assess an insufficiency in the magnificent spirits, wonderful creations that we are. And when we don't go in that direction, we lost short or an opportunity to move forward. I didn't say it was easy, I didn't say it was straightforward, but the awareness is already going to help us to have an alternative to the immediate thought that may come to our mind. The next thing is that each time you act with an intention to hurt, you go less fulfilled. You go in more pain and suffering, because you will only carry that negative intention. Which you wanted to impact on the other person came from within you. So it is only it that is feeding and nourishing you, and that makes you a lower being as you do more acts with intentions. And this reflection of how will you feel if it were done to you was the final thing. Most of the time, if you don't put yourself in the place of other people, you may think by some smart or limited, you call smart reflections that you may approximate in your mind, say that I have the prerogative, or in my position of whatever. So the fact that we don't consider others in the things that we do or put them in our situation make us feel that we can always go the way we want. But again, this knowledge is not new. This knowledge is not simply said that aloud. It is intentionally avoided in most discussions, even in the most holy places where we'll expect people. So the first need of focusing on the body dimension, to feed it, to nourish it, to boast about it, forgetting that even breath alone can eliminate it, has made us like this. It is important that we look beyond the body. We think about our breath. We think about our mind. We think about our intellect. We think about our memory. We think about our ego, and we think about the self, which is the ultimate. It's very important that we look at these different dimensions. And of course, that has to do with, like Mars says, the education. When we arrive this world, somebody has to take over from where we are coming from. And that environment will play an important role. So now I think this experience is making us know what choices we can make in life, where we want to associate, why we want to associate there, and what we are expecting to get from there. So this, now we can make the choices. It may bring a completely breakdown in systems. A lot of people may be very frustrated or unhappy about that, and they may do whatever to stop that breakdown from taking place. But all I can say is that if we sincerely want to move to the next level, we'll certainly have to disrupt a lot of things.
Okay. We're going to take a short break to have a video of what Apostle Lekelefac is planning for the people of Boya.
TLC 2024, the Light Convention, brought to you by Wisdom Foundation, is here again in its 12th edition with theme Stars of Africa. This grand annual event brings together amazing discoveries of gifts, talents, and skills from all over the nation and beyond. Come and experience the very best selections of music, dance, comedy, fashion, spoken word, painting, arts and crafts, innovation and technology, entrepreneurship, and much more. From the 7th to the 9th of November 2024 at Chariot Hotel Boya. Morning training sessions every day, 8 a.m. with top-notch national and international trainers to scale your careers and businesses and for personal development as the star you are. 4 p.m. evening sessions of spectacular exhibitions and first-class entertainment with a glamorous red carpet from 3 p.m. daily. Creativity that inspires, networking that empowers, celebration of impact, an event of true class and sophistication hosted by the one and only Lekelefac Divine. Tickets available. Regular 5,000 francs, VIP 15,000 francs, VIP couple 25,000 francs, table for 2 50,000 francs, table for 5 100,000 francs, table for 8 500,000 francs, and table for 10 1 million francs. A ticket covers all the days of the event. Contact 67552-8266, 67552-8266. TLC 2024, the biggest youth exhibition in the nation. Grab your tickets now for the stars of Africa.